It is Friday, and I refuse to be thoughtful anymore at this point of the week. I am only going to explore funny headlines as a cathartic release for my week, and I'm going to do so with a funny friend of mine. First time on the show, but I've known him for several years. Gianmarco Cerezi, thanks for coming on, man.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I met you like right when I came to New York, but I was far less haggard and grizzled when we met. And you're killing it, man. You've been acting. You're doing comedy. You just had an album come out.
I had a comedy special. I put it on. It's on Amazon Prime. I filmed it outdoors.
Congratulations! And
it's going to come out in album form soon for the people who would rather hear than see my face.
And for anybody that is debating between the two of those things, Gianmarco is a more handsome, younger Jeff Goldblum looking guy. So like you're in that mold, but I'm going to say more attractive and charismatic and young.
That's very kind. We were talking about our hair earlier though. I like your hair because I always wanted to grow my hair like down, like Tommy from the Power Rangers, and I'm Jewish, and it comes out the longer my hair grows, so it grows out. So I'm very envious of your hair.
Wait, so you could kind of do like an afro or a Jufro or something like that, where it's sort of
like
it's
but
curly?
It's not fully Jew. Like I was called Mushroom Head. I wasn't allowed to sit in the front of class. I'm tall, and the hair. People call me Mushroom Head. So
my plan, like I've decided how I'm going to age, which is my 40s. I've decided I'm going to go John Cleese. I'm just stiff enough. And I've just got just a hint enough of condescension that I think I can pull that off. And then 50s, I think I can totally pull off Doc Brown. Like when my hair starts going white, I think I can be very easily Doc Brown. Then 60s, I'm going to be that old guy with a beard that hits Joe Pesci in the face with a shovel from Home Alone. And that'll be what I go out on.
That's great. Look, anything to never have to comb your hair. I think that's the style you're going for.
Yeah. Great. Well, cool. Let's jump into some headlines. Coming to us from Mexico, underground romance, married man builds secret tunnel to his lover's house, busted by her husband. A married man from Mexico built an underground tunnel between his home and that of his married lover, which was tragically caught by her husband. The husband found the man, Alberto, hiding behind a sofa and noticed a hole that led into a tunnel beneath his house. When he climbed down to the passageway, it led him all the way to Alberto's home. After the husband emerged from the tunnel, Alberto reportedly pleaded with him not to disclose the affair to his own wife, who was asleep in the house at the time. There's so much to unpack with this, Gianmarco. The first thing I really just genuinely want to know is, why couldn't he just walk over to her house? Like in what scenario does it make more sense to dig a tunnel?
Huh? You need something romantic. I mean, God, how sexy is it, a secret tunnel? That doesn't really, I think it really goes to show marriage truly is a prison if you have to come up with a tunnel to get around it. I mean, I also was curious, like whether they met before the tunnel or whether he tunneled and was like, please let this be an attractive woman. If he had 3 tunnels before this and it didn't work out. I love this system of dating.
No, this sounds. I really like this. So maybe he just hated his wife. He just hates his wife, and he's like, I'm gonna dig a tunnel. It'll give me something to do. It'll give me like if the wife is like, hey, come in, we're gonna watch this reality TV show. He's like, no, I gotta dig this tunnel. And he's got like, and then like, yeah, the first time it's Bob, the second time it's Pedro, and the third time it's Lupe. And he's like, yes, thank God. Yeah, you know what? I like where your head's at. I agree. I think this is romantic. And that is clearly a good explanation for why he would do that instead of just walking down the street to conduct said affair. I'll also add, I don't want to get too political, but this is to me much further evidence that building a wall around the Mexican border is just not a really good idea. If a guy is willing to dig an unnecessary tunnel to his mistress's house already on the other side of the wall, I'm pretty sure people can figure out how to get into America.
It's like they're taking our jobs and fucking our wives. It's just a real brutal.
Yeah.
It was also the husband I read in the article, I guess the husband who was being cheated on, he works in security and he had a tunnel in his living room. That's like when you go to get a haircut and like, you know, your barber has a bad haircut, you get a little fishy. That's the version of security.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that's like that's probably going to show up in the annual review. Where they're like, Jorge, you did a great job. You did an excellent job watching the warehouse, but we have to remark upon the fact that you did have a man cuckold you by building a tunnel into your own home. That's also very ballsy to do that in a living room behind a couch, because I'm not super observant, but I feel like if I were walking past my couch, I would notice if there were a giant hole. Like I feel like that's something that would, like, I'm aware of rust stains, so I think I would notice a hole in my house.
I think it'd be very funny if he hadn't caught them. It sounds like he caught them making love in the living room. First of all, they should have been making love in the tunnel itself.
Right. Yeah. Why did you build a sex tunnel if you're not planning to use it?
Maybe like that was, they were going to construct it, but they finally connected, and he was like, "Can we bone it out? Just, I just built this tunnel." It also did not say how far away. I mean, tunnels cannot be easy to dig. Yeah. I'm like, where do you put the dirt?
Right.
How do you do this?
I think either way, if you're happily married and you notice that your next door neighbor has unexplained piles of dirt, you should probably just attack him, just to be on the safe side, because it might mean he's banging your wife.
Look underneath the carpets for holes.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it would be funny if he had just discovered the hole, walked through it to this man's house, and this man had to be like, "What? What's this tunnel? What is this for?" Like, if he had really just found the tunnel, if they could have gotten around it. I'm sure that was the plan. When people cheat, they want to be caught. I don't know. I have a theory. Just when people cheat this elaborately, I'm like, you want to get caught, you want to break it up, and this is how you did it. You built a tunnel to you just, it makes no sense.
I like this. So further making what I think is an expert analysis of this man's personal life. He wanted a divorce, but he lacked the directness to do so. And so decided that he would basically compel his wife to divorce him by digging a sex tunnel to presumably his next door neighbor to conduct an affair with her, and that would be less psychologically arduous than having a difficult conversation.
Because you must love someone if you go. I'm not willing to go to Queens to have sex with a woman. If you're building a tunnel, you must really love this person.
Yeah, that's a good point.
The person I'm dating right now lives a block away from me, and I go there via foot. I'm not building tunnels.
Right? Yeah, like if she moves like 3 blocks away, you're like, man, are we going to get married? Is this worth doing? Yeah.
I love that they move. Like, they should sell these houses in a pair. Like, what happens if you leave? They're like, well, there's this tunnel here. You could use it for something. You don't want to waste the tunnel.
Yeah, so there's 1,500 square feet of footage. There's a master bedroom and a secondary bedroom. Also, if you're into wife swapping, there's a tunnel here. And so if there's inclement weather, that will not, maybe that's the other thing. Maybe he just really doesn't like hot weather. Maybe he's very into air conditioning, it being Tijuana, and was like, I'm not going to do it. Actually, around your neighborhood, John Marco, a headline that was sent to me by a couple of listeners of the show is, quote, "Blood everywhere, aggressive squirrels terrorizing, attacking New York City residents for weeks. Some people living in Queens neighborhood are afraid to leave their homes. That's because there have been several aggressive squirrel attacks over the last few weeks. Micheline Frederick is still bruised. Her bite wounds are healing." She said, quote, "You hear someone's been bitten by a squirrel and you're thinking, okay, you got a little nib. What's the big deal? But this was like an MMA cage match and I lost it. Security cameras show squirrels attacking people. And the city says that probably rabies won't happen." You're in New York. Is this a thing? I don't remember squirrels being that feral when I lived there.
I remember, like, I grew up in Maryland, and I would do the thing that all kids do with like pigeons and squirrels, where you run up at them and they run away. And like New York squirrels, you'd run at them and they wouldn't move a muscle. And I would freak out. Like, I'd run, charge, super confident, and then I'd scream. So I have not been attacked by a squirrel, but I could see like not knowing what to do and a squirrel moving around. So you're just like punching yourself every time you try to hit the squirrel. And if you saw the picture, I mean, it is a bloodbath.
Yeah, the one I saw was just like snow with a lot of blood in it. Like, it was very like Stanley Kubrick, 3/4 of the way through the film level creepy.
Do you have it in you to just like kick that squirrel?
No, I'm much more of a collaborator, John Marco. I think what I would do is just like concede the neighborhood to the squirrels and then try and work my way into the squirrel hierarchy. Like, I would just like, everybody, let's just let the squirrels have it. And then I would get a squirrel costume and I'd try and marry into a squirrel family. But I don't think I could push the squirrel around, nor would I try.
I think nature, well, you saw these things of nature is healing. Like, everyone was in quarantine and suddenly there was like the what was that in Italy, where like the
Yeah,
water.
like bears are wandering into Rome at one point. Like deer were coming into Philadelphia. Yeah,
alligators and CVS.
Yeah,
and I think we're gonna in New York. It's gonna be squirrels, and we're gonna come back, and the squirrels are like, "You're not welcome back."
Right? Yeah. Like squirrels, rather than occupying new territory or reclaiming old territory, have just assumed and permanently stationed themselves as the top of the food chain. This is now our neighborhood. You don't get to come out. Maybe the other thing people could do, again, this is my collaborator instincts. Just fill your pockets with acorns. And when you're walking around the squirrel neighborhood, just leave acorns out for them. They're not going to kill the squirrel guy. You're fine.
Or they attack you wherever you're holding the acorns and just ravish you.
Cut to Heaton in a tweed suit, falling over as multiple squirrels jump into my pants and begin clawing me ferociously to get to the acorns in them. Yeah.
Were you ever hit by? I was hit in the leg. A rat ran into my leg.
Oh.
And that was horrifying because you felt this huge mass of flesh just smacking into my leg. It was horrible. I can feel it now.
Oh God, no, I don't. Most of my creepy animal moments have been more rural. So I've had the sensation several times in my life of you'll see that kind of like underground rivulet that a mole makes from that path that it makes, and you'll step down on it barefoot, thinking that it's not been there a while, and you'll just feel something move underneath your feet.
Oh, I hate that feeling.
But I don't think I had much wildlife issues in New York. I did have bed bugs at one point, which was not fun.
I did too.
Yeah, bed bugs was. Oh, that was absolutely, and that was like I had like minor like PTSD for like months. I say it all
the time.
Yeah,
I had a bug. I just moved, and like I saw this one bug, and I freaked out, and I killed it, but I held it, and I Googled.
Yeah,
and it was honestly when I first got bed bugs, I caught it really early, but it felt like the exact same trajectory of like if you think you might have an STD, where I got the bug, I Googled it. They were like, bed bugs are like flat. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, is it flat? No, that could be a pimple. And
do I have an obligation to tell the girl I'm dating? Maybe.
Do I have to tell all the people who came to my place last night? It's the same. It's the exact same experience. And people judge you the same. People look at people with bed bugs.
Oh, yes, absolutely. That is like having leprosy in New York. And it was awkward. I started dating a lady after they sprayed for bed bugs, and they did a great job. But the thing was that they sprayed for bed bugs, and then the Terminator gave me, or exterminator gave me, this like bottle of spray stuff that's like a very oily citrus based, or like a very oily like cedar based or pine based spray. And the idea was that it's non-toxic, but it's viscous enough that the bed bugs couldn't breathe if they got it on them. But I would have to like lather myself down with it at night for like a month, like an old world poultice that I was putting on my body to ward off demons. And so I smelled great. Like for like 2 months, I just smelled very fresh. But like young lady comes over and I'm like, hey, before we climb into bed, couple things you need to know. I might at one point feel compelled to put on this very smelly oil. It's not a sex thing, or it can be, but it's not innately. And and you should know that there were bed bugs, but there aren't any now, so you don't need to worry. Very, very awkward. I'm glad I was drunk when it happened, because it would have been very difficult to do otherwise.
If I got bed bugs again, I mean, I'd rather go into debt and not deal with it. Like it was such. I had to bring all my things to the dryers because you dry it, you heat it so fast.
Yeah,
and it's truly and when you hear like they can go without eating for a year or 2 years, and part of you is like, how is it that everyone doesn't have bed bugs? These seem like an impossible beast.
Yeah, they're horrible. Yeah, and they're like they're not like they're fine with cold, apparently. Like they can be cold for
their metabolism slow down, so they even need less food.
Yeah, it's like storing sperm. Like the colder they are, the longer they go. I think hot places speed them up a little bit, right? So like if you're in I bet if you're in a hot suburb, you're probably okay. But yeah, in terms of like, and I've been at I've got them at hotels before and things, because I know what they feel like now, which is not fun. But for months, I apologize, by the way, I apologize to everybody listening that Gianmarco and I are just having like a joint therapy session now instead of doing the headlines. But for months, I would wake up like just in a cold sweat, fling on the lights, and then like rip my mattress off the bed to see if there was anything there. And I looked insane, but it was like, well, I want to know.
Mine went in corners. So like if there was a door and there was like a rectangle engraved in the door, they go in the corners. So I always like looking like in your door, like the corners of the little square on top. I'm always looking and they leave ink stains behind or whatever, like blood stains.
Right.
And so I always like see dots and I'm like, oh my God, oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Terrible. Terrible.
Okay. Yeah. That's when we're through with this, we'll both go take showers and and sleep at hermetically sealed beds. Okay, let's then kick it north. We'll go to a different area of the country to talk about to get our minds off of this. In Massachusetts, one intrepid legislator is asking, does Massachusetts need an official state dinosaur? A Framingham Democrat is seeking to add to the Massachusetts list of states that have, add Massachusetts to the list of states that have codified their own official dinosaur. He says, quote, with so much uncertainty in our world today, can you think of a better way to help kids and the young at heart learn about the legislative process than by naming an official Massachusetts state dinosaur? The contenders are the Podokesaurus holiokensis and Anchianosaurus polysilius. Or swift-footed lizard of Holyoke. And then there's a bunch of information about this. And here's my position on this. I think this is the exact kind of thing state legislators should be preoccupying themselves with. I think this is great because, like, basically legislators can either really screw stuff up or maybe fix stuff, which is why this is, like, to me, just a blazoned electric neon of not hurting anything. And I'm like, take your time, guys. Like really debate this. And I'll add to that. I now emphatically think Podokesaurus holiokensis is the only legitimate dinosaur option, and anybody who thinks otherwise will be cut out of my life like a cancer.
Sure. I think it would be nice for kids to see the government like get a task completed. Like it would feel good to be like, oh, we can do this at least. I do think though, like, what the fuck are these two dinosaurs? Like, I just love the kid being like, oh, T-Rex, Triceratops. No, it's one that means much sought after near lizard. That was the second. Whatever that crazy term is, it translates to much sought after near lizard.
Yeah, it sounds like Japanese being translated back and forth a couple of times in terms of a dinosaur. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just don't see any kids getting excited about whatever those dinosaurs were.
Right.
But I like it more than the state bird. I looked up for New York. It's the eastern bluebird. And I'm like, what is that? It should obviously be the pigeon. That's the only thing that makes sense. I've never seen an eastern bluebird.
Right. Yeah.
I see dead pigeons everywhere I go. That is our bird. You don't get to be poetical. You have to choose what's in front of you.
I have an agreement with you. I love this stuff. Like I love it when local and state governments do frivolous things. I find it really funny. I'm a big fan of like towns in Minnesota and Alaska that elect cats mayor. Like, and one of my post-pandemic goals, now that I have a 13-foot fiberglass camper I can live and work out of if I want to travel, is I want to drive around the country just waging relentless, horrible campaign warfare against toddlers and dogs that are already holding these positions. Like, be the bad guy. And try and win mayor of like Lower Dinklage, Massachusetts, or whatever. And I find like the official state mascots and things I find funny because they always have to have some sort of state attachment that justifies their existence, and a lot of the time it doesn't even make sense. Like Oklahoma, where I'm from, the state vegetable is a watermelon, which the really savvy agricultural listeners of the program, who after several degrees know more about botany than the average Joe, might point out watermelons aren't vegetables. They're fruits. In fact, it has a melon built right in. And the reason for that is my buddy Joe Dorman, who was who was in the state legislature at the time, had a guy in his district with a really big watermelon patch, and state fruit was already taken. So it was like, well, if state fruit's taken, I want to get this watermelon patch. Like, I'll make it the state vegetable. And like, I love that kind of stuff.
I would love if like Trump weighed in on this. Like if this somehow became partisan, I would love to just like they have secret meetings and like Clinton likes this one and QAnon was, I mean, it would be fantastic.
You know what? If so we're recording this, this will probably be out in the next couple of weeks. Trump will probably be president when this comes out. But we're ending the near of his administration, right? If he had just dedicated like the entirety of his rhetorical forces, which were extensive, to weighing in on things like this, I probably would have been a fan. Like if that had been the Trump presidency, had been 98%, just like we got to get clearly the best state mammoth is the lower, the smaller tusked one.
Like, well, don't you think he'll be available for hire for all sorts of things? Like if he's fine after this and if he's not going to run for president, I could see people hiring him, and for $1 million, he'll endorse anything you want to.
Just be a hype guy. Yeah, actually, that would be a really great, just a very expensive hype man. I absolutely, I love custard, or alternately come to Dangleburg, Minnesota. It's a great place. Yeah, I could see something
him like a NASCAR jackets, like having pins of everything that is sponsoring him at the moment.
Yeah,
and I would love the dinosaur. If I was Trump, I would have a couple of things that you just do for fun, like which dinosaur do you want, and just obliterate whatever little snot-nosed kid is like. No, I wanted it to be the Ankylosaurus.
Yeah, he has a Secret Service smack tiny dinosaur figurines out of the hands of children. Having Rudy Giuliani give press conferences about how we're pretty sure that particular
Rudy
dinosaur
Giuliani
was a child molester.
Rudy would be like, I actually knew the Ankylosaurus personally. I was there, and he was a real piece of shit. We should not have it.
Yeah, all of that would be great. What a great world the people that are living in the sitcom universe are having instead of the one we live in, which is the Black Mirror universe. Yep. Over in North Dakota man kicks in front door after getting no reply to Facebook friend request, according to the police. This is in Williston, North Dakota, where a man is accused of kicking in the front door of the house of his ex-coworker who did not reply to his Facebook friend request. Police say that Caleb Berzik started sending aggressive Facebook messages to his ex-coworker on December 24th. He threatened his coworker's life and warned him he was going to come at him if he did not accept his Facebook friend request, according to the affidavit. Quote, accept my friend request or I'm going to murder you, he sent to his coworker. I read this and I was like, this guy was, how like in middle school, we had to give Valentines to everybody in the class. This is why that rule exists, because this kid would have gone absolutely apeshit if he didn't receive Valentines from everybody. Like this is like the principal had to get involved because of kickball teams level guy. And he's gone strong and kept that trajectory.
I think I'm on his side though. Like I know comedians where we've worked together for so long where I'm like, just follow me back on Twitter. What the fuck is, we've been on so many lineups together. Just follow me. And I can sympathize. I'm just curious, like, was this guy weird in the office place? Like, was he aggressive as a person? Or is he one of those people, he's totally normal? And then you send a Facebook request, you don't respond. And he's like, I'm going to fucking murder you if you don't accept this. Was there any build-up? I've said to people a little jokingly, I'm like, if you don't follow me back on Twitter, I'm going to kill myself. And I said it jokingly, but I'm sure this guy and I were not far apart in how we feel being rejected on social media.
See, this makes me wonder if the other guy in the equation just wasn't checking Facebook regularly. Because this happened December 24th. I have become less and less invested in Facebook over the last 4 years, and I'm still on it, but I maybe check my messages now once a week. And then there's also Facebook's constantly inventing new ways for me to suddenly discover that I've ignored people because they're I've got a page and I don't know how to check the messages on that half the time. Yep. And I'll so many people will send me these lovely messages that I that'll be like, hey, I'm a really big fan. And I would mean so much if, my husband's in the hospital and all he wants is for you to say hello to and I'll get it 6 months after they're gone. But out of the hospital, by the way, not dead. But that kind of stuff. Sure. But it's not that I'm a dick about it. I just literally don't realize it happened at the time. So I think it'd be funny if the police come to this guy's house and they're like, hey, we took care of Caleb. And they're like, who? The guy that I worked with 3.5 years ago? What was Caleb doing? I hope he's okay. I think that'd be great.
I think, unfortunately, and again, I don't work in traditional office spaces, but unfortunately, if it's your coworker, you're going to have to add him on Facebook. What are you going to see this dude every day and you're not going to add them? I just think, just give it to him. just, that's, to me, I think there's a certain degree of like politeness, and it's just the unfortunate reality.
Yeah.
You can friend them, you can mute them, so you never see a word that they say.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot. Like, I have like some old guy I met at Improv 101 8 years ago who feels the need to comment on every single one of my statuses. But I can't block him. Like, it's okay.
Yeah. The guy that he was demanding Facebook friendship from should, once he's in jail, Facebook message him like once a month with like, hey, Caleb, like, do you want to hang out? Like, how come you're not responding to me? Just so when Caleb does get out, there's this just onslaught of messages that he's been unable to see to balance out the karma.
I agree.
Okay. Final story, John Marco. And this comes to us from Eric S. For people on Discord, there is a Friday Release Valve channel, and you can put story headlines in there, and might very well work its way on the show. So thank you, Eric. Drugs were called after mix-up packages depression medication and erectile dysfunction drug together. What I want is a copy of your album. What's it called again?
It's called Shelf Life. Again, Amazon Prime. It's going to come out as an album later this year. It's Spotify, Pandora, all that jazz.
Great. Hey, John Marco, it was so cool hanging out with you, man.
Very cool to see you again.
Like we were saying this before I started this. Like I principally knew you as an actor, and it's so cool that you're a comedian who's just firing off jokes, man. It's awesome. I really like it.
I appreciate it.
Okay. Talk to you later.
Peace.